Today, I am going to discuss quadratic function of the form f of x is equal to a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. But before that, let's have a review first for some important details in dealing this topic. So, we all know quadratic function is in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are all real numbers and a must not equal to 0. Then, if we're going to set f of x equal to y, the equation will form as y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This form is what we call the general form of the equation of the quadratic function. Then, the quadratic function can also be written in the form of f of x is equal to a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. This is what we call the standard form of the equation of the quadratic function. This is what I'm talking about. So later on, I will give you some examples how to rewrite the general form into standard form or vice versa, meaning from standard to general. So without further ado, let's study this given example. Let's say, transform the equation y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 4 into its standard form. So this means we have to transform, we have to rewrite this given general equation into the form of y is equal to a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. So first, we have to write the given equation y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 4. Then, in order to transform this one into its standard form, we have to use the completing the square method. So first, we have to factor out. Again, factor out the coefficient of the quadratic term to the first and second term. Again, factor out the coefficient of our quadratic term to the first and second term. Do not include the constant. Okay, so now let's factor out the coefficient of our quadratic term. This is our quadratic since it is a term with the degree 2. Then the coefficient here is 1. So since it is positive 1, so therefore we can no longer do that. Automatically, we have to proceed to the next step, which is grouping. So we have to group the first and the second term, or the term with a variable. Okay? So we have to group this one. So simply just write it inside the parenthesis, x squared minus 6x. So again, do not include the constant. Then, we have to rewrite the terms inside the parenthesis into its perfect square trinomial. So simply copy x squared minus 6x. Then we have to get the square of the half of this 6. Again, square of the half in order to have here a constant and to make that a perfect square trinomial. So the half of 6 is 3. Then the square of 3 is simply positive 9. Then just copy the constant 4. Then, we have to add here the additive inverse of a number that was being added to the given equation. So, this is a number that was being added to the given equation. And since we have here 1, am I right? The leading coefficient or the coefficient of our quadratic term is simply 1. So, if we have here a number, we have to multiply it to the constant of our perfect square trinomial. So 1 times 9 is positive 9. Then the additive inverse of that is negative 9. Again, we have to add here the additive inverse of the number or the value of our a multiplied to the constant of our perfect square trinomial. So I hope that is clear. Then, after groupings or after making a perfect square trinomial, we have to make this into a perfect square binomial. Meaning the square of the binomial. So, simply square root of the first term and square root of the last term. Again, in order to have a square of the binomial, you have to get the square root of our first term and the last term. Do not include the middle term. Again, do not include the middle term. Just the first and the last term. So the square root of x squared is simply x. Then the square root of our 9 is simply 3. Then the sign here is the sign of our middle term. And this is our middle term, the sign is negative. So therefore the sign here is negative. Then just write here the square or with a degree 2. Then combine the constant. Positive 4 minus 9 is negative 5. And this is the standard form of this given equation. Now, if we are going to find the value of a, h, and k, okay? Our a is the value of the coefficient of our quadratic term. And this is our quadratic term. The coefficient here is 1, so simply 1. Then our h is the additive inverse. Again, additive inverse of this one. The constant of the binomial. So the constant of our binomial is negative 3. The additive is positive 3. And that is the value of our h. Then, the value of our k is simply this constant. Just copy the constant. Negative 5. This is the value of a, h, and k. Okay? And this is the standard form. So I hope this is clear. Another example. Let's say, transform the equation y is equal to negative x squared plus 2x minus 2 into its standard form. So again, we have to rewrite this given general form into the form of y is equal to a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. So first, we have to copy the given equation y is equal to negative x squared plus 2x minus 2. Then, in order to transform this one into its standard form, we have to use the completing the square method. So first, factor out the coefficient of our quadratic term to the first and second term. Again, do not include the constant. So, the coefficient of our quadratic term is simply negative 1. It has here an imaginary 1. Okay, so we factor out the negative 1. Then, negative x squared divided by negative 1 is simply positive x squared. Then, positive 2x divided by negative 1 is negative 2x. Then, just copy the constant negative 2. Then, we have to rewrite this, the terms inside the parentheses, we have to write this into a perfect square trinomial. So, copy the negative. Then, copy x squared minus 2x. Then we have to get the square of the half of this 2. So the half of 2 is simply 1. Then the square of 1 is positive 1. Then copy this one negative 2. Then again, since we have here negative 1, so we have to multiply. We multiply the value of a to the constant of our perfect square trinomial. So negative 1 times positive 1 is simply negative 1. Then, the additive inverse of negative 1 is positive 1, and that is what we are going to add here. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Then, we have to write this perfect square trinomial into a perfect square binomial, or the square of the binomial. So, simply copy negative. Then, in order to write this into a perfect square binomial, we have to get the square root of the first term and last term. So the square root of first term, the x squared, the square root is simply x. Then the square root of 1 is simply 1. And the sign of our middle term is the sign of our binomial. So just right here, square. Since we are squaring these into binomial. Then, negative 2 plus 1 is simply negative 1. And this is our standard form of this given equation. This is the standard form. Now, if you're going to ask the value for A, H, and K, simply, our A is the coefficient of our quadratic term, which is we have here negative 1. So, our A is simply negative 1. And our H is the additive inverse of the constant of our binomial. We have here negative 1. The additive inverse is positive 1. Then our K is simply the constant. So, negative 1. Simple as that. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Let's say, transform the equation y is equal to 3x squared minus 30x plus 77 into its standard form. So again, we have to rewrite this given general equation into the form of y is equal to a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. So first, copy the given equation y is equal to 3x squared minus 30x plus 77. So, in order to transform this one, we have to use the completing the square method. So first, factor out the coefficient of our quadratic term to the first and second term. So that means we have to factor out this to the first and second term. Do not include the constant. Alright, so let's factor out this one, 3. Then, 3x squared divided by 3 will give us x squared. Then, negative 30x divided by 3 will give us negative 10x. Then, just copy the constant, positive 77. Then, we have to write the terms inside the parentheses into a perfect square trinomial. So, copy 3. Then, copy x squared, copy negative 10x. Then, we have to get the half of this 10. The half of 10 is 5. Then, we have to square it again. So, the 5 squared is simply positive 25. Then, just copy 77. Then, observe, we have here a value a which is 3. So, we have to multiply this 3 to the constant of our perfect square trinomial, which is 25. So, 3 times 25 is 75. Positive 75. So, therefore, positive 75, the additive inverse is negative 75. So, it is the number that we are going to add here. The additive inverse of the value, or the final value of our constant, this one. Okay, we multiply 3 with positive 25 is positive 75. Then the additive inverse is negative 75. Then now, copy again this the value 8, which is 3. Then we have to make this a perfect square trinomial into the square of binomial. So that means square root of the first term is square root of the last term. So the square root of x squared is simply x. Then the square root of 25 is simply 5. Then the sign of our middle term here is negative. So we have here negative or minus. Then simply combine this one. 77 minus 75 will give us positive 2. Then we will just write here this square. And this is the quadratic, the standard form of this given quadratic equation. So I hope this is clear. Okay, so now, how about if we're going to reverse this process? Meaning, this is not the given, the standard form, and we're going to find the general form. Okay? So, let's do this example. How about this one? transform the equation y is equal to 3 times the quantity of x minus 2 squared minus 13 into its general form. So now our task is to rewrite this given standard into general form. So, simply we have to copy the given equation. Y is equal to 3 times x minus 2 squared minus 13. So, in order to transform this one into general form, we have to expand first the terms that is being squared. So, we have to expand this one. So, copy 3. Then, we have to make this a perfect square trinomial. So, now, in order to make this a perfect square trinomial, simply square the first term. So, x is squared. Simply square. X is squared is simply x squared. Then, to get the middle term, simply multiply all the terms including the square. Again, multiply all the terms including the exponent or the square. So, x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Times 2 is negative 4x. Then, for our last term of the perfect square trinomial, simply square the constant of the binomial. So, square of negative 2, meaning negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Then, just copy negative 13. Then, we have to distribute these 3 to all the terms inside the parentheses. So, 3 times x squared is 3x squared. Then, 3 times negative 4x is negative 12x. 3 times positive 4 is positive 12. Then, just copy negative 13. Then, as what you observe, we have here 2 constants. So, that means we have to combine this one. So, combining like terms. So, copy 3x squared, then minus 12x, then positive 12 minus 13 is simply negative 1. And this is the general form of this given equation. Simple as that. So, I hope this is clear. Let's try another example. How about this one? Transform the equation y is equal to the quantity of x minus 3 over 2 squared minus 49 over 4 into its general form. So again, we have to copy the given equation. So y is equal to the quantity of x minus 3 over 2 squared minus 49 over 4. So again, we have to expand the terms inside the parentheses or this binomial since it is squared. Okay, so to make this into a perfect square trinomial or to expand this one, simply square the first term. So x squared is simply x squared. Then for the middle term, just multiply all the terms including the exponent. So, this one, multiply. X times negative 3 over 2 is simply negative 3x over 2. This one, we multiply negative 3 over 2 times x. So, just multiply the numerator negative 3 to the variable x. So, negative 3 times x is negative 3x and copy the denominator 2. Then, we multiply the product of this binomial to the exponent. Again, multiply, do not square. So, multiply this by 2. So, automatically cancel this one. The remaining is negative 3x. Okay? Then, for the last term of our perfect square trinomial, we have to square this one. Okay, I already used that one. So, square this one. Negative 3 over 2 squared is simply, you square the middle term. Simply, you square the numerator and the denominator. So, the square of 3 is simply 9 and the square of 2 is simply 4. then the square of negative is always positive. Okay? If we are squaring a number, the result is always positive. Then just copy this one, negative 49 over 4. Then, combining like terms, so we have two constants. So we combine this one. So copy x squared minus 3x. Then let's combine this one first. Okay, so we have here positive 9 over 4 minus 49 over 4. So subtracting fractions. So similar fractions. Automatically just subtract the numerator. So 9 minus 49 will give us negative 40. Then just copy the common denominator, 4. Then negative 40 divided by 4 is negative 10. And this is our constant here. And this is the general form of this given equation. Simple as that. So I hope this is clear. Last example. Let's say transform the equation y is equal to 3 times the quantity of x minus 5 squared plus 2 into its general form. So again, copy the given equation, y is equal to 3 times x minus 5 squared plus 2. So, expand this binomial since it is squared. So, copy this 3, then to expand this one, we have to make it into a perfect square trinomial. And to do that, we simply square the first term. So, x squared is x squared. Then, for the middle term, multiply all the terms including the exponent. Okay? So, x times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 5x times 2 is negative 10x. Then, negative 5 squared is simply positive 25. Okay? The constant is simply square the constant of the binomial. Okay? Square the negative 5, and that is positive 25. And copy plus 2. Then, we have to distribute this 3 to all the terms inside the parentheses. So, 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 10x is negative 30x. And 3 times 25 is positive 75 plus 2. Then, combine like terms, the last step. So, copy this one, 3x squared minus 30x. And combine this one, 75 plus 2 is positive 77. And this is the general form of this given equation. So, I hope this is clear. Now, if you have some clarifications, please don't hesitate to chat. So, if you want more information regarding this topic, you can search this online. And I guess this is not the end of my video for this topic. So, it is your turn to answer the given exercises on your module. So, goodbye class, stay safe, and God bless.